Let's go ahead and bring in retired U.S. Air Force General John Teichert. Sir, thanks for joining us. What do you think the odds are that the president is actually, we all know that he's considering kinetic action here. What are the odds you think he is actually going to take that option in the near term?
Gillian, I think we're going to see that sooner rather than later, but I think he's weighing three primary factors. You will see a strike once he makes the determination that negotiations are fruitless. We'll also start striking once we see a posture both offensively and defensively, so he's convinced that we can achieve our objectives at a sufficient level of risk. And I think the wild card is that I think he would be inclined to strike if we start to see a rise up of the surge of protests like we saw 5 or 6 weeks ago. In fact, just in the last couple of days, we've seen several protests that topped over 1,000 people. And I think those are the three primary factors that will drive the decision of the president.
Take a listen to State Department spokesman Tommy Pigott. I had him on yesterday. This is what he said.
This president's been very clear about what he needs to see, what he wants to see. He's also been very clear he wants to see a deal. He's a peacemaker. He's a deal maker. That's what he wants to see. But no one can doubt, based off the last time that the Iranian regime refused a deal, that the president means what he says. Operation Midnight Hammer proved that.
So the president wants a deal. His red line, though, is that the regime completely abandoned its nuclear weapons program. That is the sticking point. That has always been the sticking point between the United States and Iran. Do you think what we are seeing now on the ground, the dissatisfaction among Iranian citizens, is enough to push them to coalesce right now?
Gillian, I think there's a couple of factors here. And number one is that the Ayatollah and his regime can't admit that their nuclear program has been an utter failure for the Iranian people for the last 4.5 decades. And I don't see him giving that up. But I do start to see, especially now that we're done with the 40-day mourning period from the protests from 6 weeks ago, that there is that bubbling up of protests. And I think to some extent the president's credibility is on the line. He promised that we're locked and loaded. He promised that help is on the way, which is why I firmly believe that if we really do start to see that surge of protests again, he's going to make good on that promise and start to strike internal security sites within Iran to support the protesters.
And what about the tremendous buildup that we've seen in the region, in the air, at sea over the last few weeks? It seems hard to imagine the president or the Pentagon deploys all of that and then brings it back without ever making a move, right? Or am I wrong? I don't know. I'm happy to be wrong.
No, so Gillian, I think that you're right. But I think, first of all of that firepower gives the president the backing in negotiations to try to push Iran over the edge, both on their nuclear program, but also ballistic missile program and the proxies. And so it allows the president and U.S. to negotiate from a position of strength, but it also gives the president a wide swath of options. And whether that is a long-term aerial bombing campaign or the limited strikes we're starting to hear about, all of that firepower gives the president diplomatic and military options that he wouldn't have otherwise.
Very interesting. So the regime has two options, both of them painful to some degree. It is a little bit in their court to take these negotiations seriously to avoid the worst case scenario, it sounds like. General, thank you for taking time with us today. Very interesting to hear your perspective.
Thank you, Gillian.
You bet.